Hey everyone, it's Lance Morgan here. Welcome to another live video. Happy Tuesday to you. It is February 5th and we are live. Hopefully you're having a great Tuesday. Today I'm going to talk about 3 steps to pay for college and get all your money back. I know it sounds too good to be true and it's more simple than you would think. I'm the author of the Retirement Scholarship Strategy, and in this book I cover all of the details of how to pay for college and get your money back. Now, in the first section, I also talked about how to reduce the cost of college. In the last several videos, I've been talking about steps to reduce the cost of college, but I've also said that even though it's important to reduce the cost of college, it's even more important in how you actually pay for college, because you can save tens of thousands of dollars on in reducing the cost of college, but you can save literally hundreds of thousands of dollars with this one simple strategy that I call the Retirement Scholarship Strategy. And there are 3 steps to make this work. And I'm going to walk you through those 3 steps in this short video here. So, first of all, the biggest mistake that everyone makes when it comes to paying for college is they either do one of 2 things. Number 1, they save and they save and they save, or they use their cash flow to pay for college. And then when it comes time to pay for college, each year that the kids are in school, they just spend that money. Maybe they cash flow it. Maybe they use their 529 money. Maybe they use some savings. Hopefully they don't dip into retirement, but some people do. But no matter what, they are spending the money. In other words, they are reducing their money. They're interrupting the compound interest. And at the end of the day, they have nothing. Now, a lot of people, college kind of snuck up on them. The next thing you knew, your kids were this big, and the next thing you knew, they were going to college, and you just weren't quite ready. Or maybe life threw you a curveball, and you didn't have time to save for college. Or maybe you were saving for college, and then something came up, and you needed to use that money. Maybe you lost your job or something like that. Or for whatever reason, maybe you're just finally getting to a point in your career where you can actually put some money away. And now all of a sudden, college is there. Maybe you've got a senior in high school. So what do? You borrow each of the years that the kids are in school, and then you pay it back. Now, the default is 10 years, but you can ask your loan servicer to spread that out over 15, 20, sometimes even 25 years. Or maybe you could use the equity in your home, and then you could spread that over 30 years if you wanted to. But nonetheless, you are going to be borrowing the money to pay for college, and you're going to be paying back the money with interest. Now, these people over here in this camp, they say, oh man, I would never do this because of all the interest that you're going to have to pay. So they are so focused on avoiding paying interest that they want to pay cash, or they want to use their savings. But what these people don't understand is that they are losing what we call opportunity cost. Because see, we all know that compound interest works best over time. So if you interrupt the compound interest and spend your money on college, you have what we call lost opportunity costs. So it may not be a fee, it may not be a interest in the sense of interest on college loans or something like that, but it is still a cost. It's an expense, okay? So if you spend your money, you're not going to have any of this. You're going to lose compound interest. You're going to interrupt compound interest. But it doesn't really matter. Maybe this person started when their kids were born and it only cost them 50 grand out of pocket to pay for a $100,000 education for their child. That's great. It may have saved them money, but the minute they spend that money, they are losing what that money could have earned. Now, these people, on the other hand, maybe their child also goes to a $25,000 a year school. So they've got a $100,000 education for their child, and by the time you pay back all that money with interest, then they're going to possibly pay $125,000 for that same education. But the question is, if this person would have saved that money and not spent that money, could it not have grown to $125,000? So in other words, are they still not losing out on what we call that opportunity cost? Okay, so how do you pay for college and get all your money back during retirement years so you can spend time with your grandkids? Well, there's 3 steps. Okay, now to illustrate this, let me give you an example. Let me tell you a story. Let's imagine for a minute that you have this amazing asset. Okay, let's call it a house or a piece of real estate of any kind. It's just, think of it as an amazing asset worth a lot of money. In fact, let's just say that it averages about 7%. So over time, this asset has grown and it has accrued interest and it grown at an average of 7%. Now it comes time to pay for college. So you have two choices. Number one, you can sell it. You can sell that asset and you can pay cash for college. That way you're not borrowing any money, you're not going into debt, you're not paying any interest. So option one, you sell that asset that was growing at 7%. Or number two, let's say that someone will allow you to borrow their money at 5%. So down here, we could borrow this money at 5% interest. So we could use this asset as collateral and allow it to continue to grow, and we could borrow somebody else's money at a lower rate. Of course, the most common example would be like a home equity loan, right? Your home technically, hopefully, appreciates in value, depending on the part of the country. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe you got hit pretty hard with 2008. But let's just pretend this is a vacation home in the most popular part of the country, and historically it has never gone down in value. So this asset has always gone up in value and averaged 7%. Now you can borrow somebody else's money at 5%. And then let's just say you take that money and you pay that money back over 10 years, 15 years, 20, 30 years, whatever. It depends on the terms of that loan. Well, now all of a sudden, you've still paid the same as this person up here, but you have your asset that has continued to grow. So you haven't actually interrupted the compound interest. Now, let's just say that there happens to be a financial institution that shows you how to get a 7% return that will also allow you to borrow money at 5%. But let's just say that their terms are a little bit different. Okay? Let's say that their terms are, hey, we have no specific time frame that you have to pay back that money. It is going to accrue interest at 5%, but there's no specific time frame or payment plan associated with it. You don't even have to pay the interest. So now this loan is going to accrue interest. Okay? That loan is going to accrue interest over the years at 5%, but your asset, since you didn't sell it, is going to appreciate at 7% on average. Think of it like two cars driving across the country. So if you're in New York and I'm out here in Utah, let's say that you start in New York and you drive to Utah. One car is going 50 miles an hour. The other car is going 70 miles an hour. By the time you leave your neighborhood, not a huge difference between the two cars. By the time you get all the way across the country to Utah from New York, there's probably a pretty big gap between those two. Now, depending on the spread, maybe you're earning 6 and you're borrowing at 5, or maybe you're earning 7 and borrowing at 5, or borrowing at 6. Depending on that spread, whether you've got a 1% spread or a 2% spread, will determine how long it takes to get your money back. So if you're paying $50,000, or if you're paying $100,000 for a college education, $25,000 a year, right? So it's costing you $100,000. Then that money, that $100,000, could literally come back to you in anywhere from 15, 20, 25 years. So if you're in your 40s, you could have that money back for your retirement years. If you're in your 50s, you could have that money back during the middle of your retirement years, depending on when you retire. And if you are, in your 60s, you could still get the money back. If you have an average life expectancy of 80, 85, you could still get your money back before you die, which means that you can pay for college and still get your money back during your retirement. So 3 steps. Number 1, uninterrupted compound interest. This green graph right here. That's step number 1. You need to allow your money to grow uninterrupted. Step number 2, you need to use other people's money. Allow your money to continue to grow. Think about it like a big real estate investor. They don't sell their property to go and build another one. They use that property as leverage or collateral, and then they borrow money at a lower rate for the other one. Because if that property is growing and averaging, let's say, a 10% return on their investment, why would they want to sell it if they could go borrow money from the bank at 3 or 4%? Okay, so you need uninterrupted compound interest on your money, and then you need to borrow somebody else's money at a lower rate. Now, there's lots of options out there. I discussed 3 different scenarios in this book, The Retirement Scholarship Strategy. You can get this book on Amazon, or you can also go to lancewebinar.com. Once again, my name is Lance Morgan, and you can go to lancewebinar.com, and I'll explain all this in detail. It's a 2-hour webinar. I go into a lot of detail, and I don't hold anything back. There is nothing for sale on this webinar. In fact, I even offer free reports at the end of the webinar so I can show you exactly how to do this with your specific numbers. Now, what if you have a senior in high school? What if you don't have this asset? What if you haven't been building up this asset that you could use as collateral? Or maybe you don't have an asset that you can use as collateral. So maybe you don't have something like this. That's okay. We add one more step. Oh, which, by the way, sorry, step number 3. Uninterrupted compound interest was 1. Using somebody else's money, other people's money, is 2. The third step is time. Now, I don't mean that you have to start when your kids are born. I mean that you have to let this run over time. Like I said, depending on your age, in your 40s, in your 50s, or in your 60s, you can get this money back still while you're in your retirement years to help supplement your retirement. We have clients that have kids going to community colleges, and they're not spending more than $40,000 total out of pocket, maybe $10,000 a year. All right, we have kids that are going to top tier private schools, spending $75,000 a year for an education, and we have families that have 4 or 5 kids, like I do. I have 5 kids, and their kids are all going to top tier schools. I have families who have spent over $1 million on college, and you can still get that $1 million back. So it doesn't matter whether your kids are going to a inexpensive college or a very expensive college. It doesn't matter if you have 1 kid or multiple kids. This strategy will allow you to get whatever it is that you have to pay for college back. That's the whole idea. It's like a college rebate. I don't know about you. I'm a little bit impatient with mail-in rebates because I like instant gratification. All right, now, but if somebody told me, hey, whatever you have to pay for college, you could get back, like this college rebate, now I'd be all over that. And that's exactly what this is. I call it the retirement scholarship strategy, but it's like a college rebate. Now, the fourth thing, there is 4 steps if you have a senior in college, senior in high school, or any kind of high school student, and you don't have a lot of time to make this happen. So what you do with a senior in high school, or any high school student, or even like a freshman in college, is you borrow the money. Okay. You borrow the money for college using the traditional college loans. I like the college loans because you can defer the payments until the kids graduate. In fact, about 6 months after graduation. So if we can defer those payments until after graduation, then instead of using our asset as collateral to pay for college, we use our asset as collateral to pay back the college loans. So there's just that one extra step. You throw in some college loans in order to kick the can down the road, and you use your money as collateral to pay back the loans instead of actually paying for college. If you have young kids, then you only need those 3 steps. You just need to save your money into an asset that can be used as collateral, and then you need to borrow against that asset, preferably like this. Now, you might all be familiar with borrowing money from banks, and of course, banks do not allow you to borrow money and not make you pay it, and not force you to pay it back. Sorry, they make you pay that loan back. But there are financial institutions that allow you to borrow the money and allow it to accrue interest, which frees up cash flow. Because if you have extra cash flow to pay back these loans, why don't you put that extra cash flow up here towards something that is earning 7% instead of something that is costing you 5%? So even if you did want to pay it back, you may not want to. You may want to put it towards the green line here. Okay, so once again, just to review, step 1, if you have a senior in high school, step 1, start saving your money into this green asset that you're going to allow to compound interest for the rest of your life. Okay, step 2, you're going to use the college loans to pay for college. Step 3, you're going to use you're going to borrow the money using your assets as collateral. You're going to borrow the money to pay back those college loans. Then you're going to allow this spread to happen over time. You're going to allow your money to compound interest at an average of 7, and you're going to borrow the money at 5. Now, there are plans out there. You could accomplish this in a number of ways, but there are some very simple ways to do this. There are pre-packaged plans out there with financial institutions that have averaged 7%. Okay, there are the same institutions that will loan you money at 5%. I know a lot of you are familiar with banks, and they do not operate this way. Okay, but there are financial institutions that will allow you to do exactly this. Now, I cover all of this in detail in the webinar at Lance lancewebinar.com. So go out there and register for that webinar. It's free. We have lots of times to choose from. We do lots of webinars, so you can choose a time that's convenient for you. And like I said, nothing is for sale. We don't sell anything on the webinar. In fact, at the end, I even offer you a free report that shows you how to do this. Remember, it is a 2-hour webinar, so bring your drink and some snacks and get comfortable. And also, make sure you stay until the end. So make sure you book a time where you have 2 hours to dedicate to it, because we cover a lot of information. This is just a quick overview. So hopefully this is helpful. If you like these videos, even if you're watching this recorded and you're not watching it live, please hit the like button. If you want more of this training and more details on this, you can also enter comments in the comment section, and I can respond to your comments even after the fact, after the live video. So put your comments in, tag your friends and family if they need to learn about this information, and don't miss the webinar, lancewebinar.com. So thanks for watching, and let's all go out there and pay for college and get our money back. Thanks again.